Hello, friends. Today we are going to talk about chapter number 2, that is classification of biomedical waste and its effect. This is the second chapter of your biomedical waste management, MHA 204. Okay. Now, as you all know, we have discussed last time like biomedical wastes, about the various categories of biomedical waste, and today we are going to talk about it in more details. So as you can see from the slide, the hospital waste, like I told you last time, it can be divided into two parts, that is the infective waste and the non-infective waste. And the infective waste or the non-infective waste can be further classified into solid waste and liquid waste. So as you can see from the slide, the solid waste can be your human or animal tissue. It could be blood or blood products, the dressing material, sharps, your drugs, radioactive waste, etc. As far as the liquids are concerned, it is basically comprising of your chemical and the reagents, the excretions from the body, the laboratory waste, etc. And similarly, under non-infective waste, again it can be classified as solid, like the waste which are being produced from the kitchen or from the other non-infective material. And in terms of liquid waste, which is non-infective, from the laundry, linen, okay, and drinking, washing, so all these areas is concerned. So now when you categorize into, like I said, there are 10 categories of WHO has recommended about 10 categories of biomedical waste. So you can classify them as human anatomical waste, the animal waste, the biotechnology or the microbiology waste, the waste or the sharp, the discarded medicine or the cytotoxic drugs, and the solid waste such as the dressings, the cotton plaster, the recyclable waste, the liquid waste, the incinerator waste, the chemical waste. Okay, now we will come one by one about the various type of waste. Now the among the most important of biomedical, of course everything is very important, but the first category is the infectious waste. Now what is an infectious waste? It is that waste which is suspected to contain pathogens. Okay, pathogens. So what are these pathogens? This could be bacteria, viruses, they could be various parasites or fungi, and they are present in sufficiently large quantities or concentration to result in disease in the susceptible host. So who are the susceptible hosts? Those patients or people whose immunity is very low and they have a chance. So that's why the nosocomial infection, what we always talk about in hospital management, can occur due to these infectious waste. So what are the various categories included? The various categories could be the culture and the stocks from the various infectious agents from the laboratory. Okay, then they could be waste from the surgery or the patients with the infectious disease. That means they are the waste from the operation and the autopsies on the patient with infectious disease. For example, now in corona, okay, if some patient has died because of corona infection, and if it spreads, so it can infect so many other people. Then there are waste which is originating from the infected patients in isolation wards. For example, their feces or the urine, the dressings from the infected or the surgical wounds, and the clothing that is heavily soiled with blood or other fluids. Then it may also comprise of waste which is coming in contact with the infected hemodialysis patient. Okay, so that means all the dialysis equipment such as the tubing, all the filters, that disposable towels, gloves, aprons, laboratory coats, gowns, and they also comprise of the waste that is coming from the infected animals from the laboratories. Okay, so these are all the categories or the sources which is being included under your infectious waste. Now we'll come to the second category, which is known as the pathological waste. Now what is a pathological waste? Now pathological waste are those waste, that means it is consist of the tissue organs, body parts, human fetuses, animal carcasses, blood, and the bodily fluid. That means they contain the dead tissue, okay, which may conceal, and they can be especially dangerous or may having the communicable infectious agents. And what are such waste like? What are the sources? It could be the blood, the body fluids, the human fetuses, the animal carcasses. So that means it a subcategory of the pathological waste can also be labeled as the anatomical waste, okay, because it is consisting of the identifiable animal or the human body parts, healthy or otherwise. Okay, so you should keep this in mind. From here we'll come to the third category, which is very very important from the hospital management point of view, and this is known as sharps. Now what are sharps? They are those objects which are sharp enough to cut or puncture the skin. Okay, for example, like the knife, the scalpels, or the other blades used in the hospital. If for surgery, it could be infusion sets, needle, hypodermic needles, saws which is used for the orthopedic surgeries, broken glasses, nails, etc. That means they can transmit infection directly into the bloodstream. For example, if a needle get punctured, a needle which is being used on an hepatitis patient or an HIV patient, and it deliberately or not deliberately, it is being punctures the skin of another person, maybe the healthcare professional, so it can cause infection and the person can be contaminated. So sharps are basically generally treated as a highly hazardous medical waste, regardless of whether, because they can not only damage the person, they can injure the person, but also there's a very very strong chances of getting infection from the other person. So whenever when you are talking about the sharp waste, special consideration must be paid, like how you are infusing it, how you are transfusing it, or the perfusion set. For example, when you are using any sort of a butterfly needles, cannulas, your scalpel blades, so all these things has to be handled very 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 carefully. And basically, like I said, why sharps are so much important, they are highly hazardous because they can not only pose a risk of infectiousness, but they can also they are sharp enough because they can also injure the other person. Now from here we will coming to the next category, that is your pharmaceutical waste. Now as far as the pharmaceutical waste is concerned, they basically comprise of those drugs which are basically expired, unused, split, or contaminated. Okay, now basically when you talk about the pharmaceutical waste, it may comprise of four categories. The first category is over the counter drug. Okay, so basically over the counter drug, they are those drugs or which can alleviate your headaches. You can go directly to any pharmacy shop and you can basically take the medicine. And if that medicine, like you in your home also you have seen, like these medicines are kept in drawers, they have expired, and you simply go and throw them in the dustbin. So if they are not treated properly, they can contaminate the land, the water, and the other sources. So that's why they can contaminate water when dropped down a toilet or a sink. So it is very very important. Similarly, there is a second category comprised of your non-controlled or the non-hazardous prescription drugs. Okay, what are those drugs? They are basically those drugs which are used to treat high blood pressure, diabetes, and bacterial infection. And henceforth, it also needs to be handled very carefully, and it needs to be sent for disposal in a medical waste incinerator. Then the third category of the drug is comprises of the controlled drug waste. It is basically your the department of DA, and because these comprises of those drugs which are highly addictive, and they has to be treated properly. So the controlled substance basically, or the drugs basically is divided into three categories, also known as schedule 1, schedule 2, and schedule 3. The schedule 1 are those drugs which have no accepted medical use, such as heroin. Okay, the schedule 2 drugs are used medically, but they have a high abuse potential. Okay, for example, morphine. And schedule 3 to 5 drugs, there are 5 schedules, and from first and second, and then from third category to the fifth category. Then the third, fourth, and fifth category are basically drugs that have a decreased abuse potential, and they range from sedative to the suppressants such as like codeine, etc. So these all these drugs, again, when they are expired, they have to be handled very carefully so that they may not cause contamination or can infect other people, or can it can be hazardous. Then the fifth category is basically your genotoxic waste. Now what is a genotoxic waste? The genotoxic waste, if you see, they are those categories of drugs. Okay, then yes, the genotoxic, which are basically, they are those waste which are basically your highly hazardous. They have a property to cause mutagens, that is the, or that they are teratogenic or they are carcinogenic in nature. Now when you talk about they are basically genotoxic. They, when you talk about being carcinogenic, the examples can be benzene. There could be other cytotoxic drugs such as azathioprine, or your chloramphazine, or cyclosporin. Okay, so these are the various drugs which are cytotoxic in nature. Then these there are also radioactive materials. And where are these drugs found? They are basically the outdated drugs, or can be the infection can be because of the urine or the feces or vomit from such a patient, which could be highly hazardous. Then from there we will come to so that means, they have basically a serious safety problem, because like I said, the various drugs, the cytotoxic drugs, the vomit, urine, or the feces from these person are highly hazardous. So it also needs to be handled very carefully. And in hospitals, like such as the specialized oncology hospitals, there actually 1% of the total waste comprised of the cytotoxic waste. So its handling is of utmost importance when you talk about the oncology hospitals. Then the sixth category is the chemical waste. Now chemical waste are those waste which consist of discarded solids or liquids and gaseous chemicals. Okay, now they are basically used for various diagnostic and experimental purposes, and can be also used in cleaning, housekeeping, and the other disinfecting properties of the hospital. So they may be hazardous, or they may not be hazardous. As far as the hazardous is concerned, they could be, the properties could be in terms of, they could be corrosive, they could be toxic, and they could be inflammable. Okay, now when you talk about the non-hazardous, they are basically the inorganic salts which are used in the hospitals. When you talk about the hazardous chemicals, they examples could be like formaldehyde, because formaldehyde, as you know, they are used to clean and disinfect the equipment, or to preserve the specimens in hospital, to disinfect liquid infectious waste, such as in pathology, or in autopsy, or dialysis, or for embalming procedures. Similarly, other categories of your hazardous chemicals could be used in x-ray departments, where they have basically the fixing solutions, which might comprise of your 5 to 10% of hydroquinone, or 1 to 5% of potassium hydroxide. Okay, or 45% of glutaraldehyde. So all these things, or the acetic acid, they are used as a fixer agents. As far as your other chemicals are concerned in hospitals, they are basically refrigerants. Okay, such as your trichloroethylene, or could be non halogenate compounds such as xylene, etc. So as far as the, when I spoke to you regarding that non-hazardous, then they are inorganic chemicals, such as when you use your potassium permanganate as being used for SIDS bath in hospital or at home, or there could be potassium dichromate, or reducing agents could be like your potassium bisulfite or sodium sulfite. So these are the various chemicals that are of immense importance when you talk about the chemical waste is concerned, and we have just covered this thing. Then the seventh category is basically your those waste which have a high content of heavy metals. Now it can be also subcategory of the hazardous chemical waste. Okay, because they are highly toxic. And these basically comprise of your mercury waste, which is generally generated from the spillage from the broken chemical equipment such as thermometer or your sphygmomanometer, or they might have, or like in dentistry, okay, there are residues from the dentistry such as which might have a high mercury content. Similarly, the waste which is coming out from the discarded batteries used in the hospital is cadmium, okay. Or in radio graphic proofing, we use basically reinforced wooden panels which might have lead. So these things are very very important, or they are important to consider when you talk about waste with high contents of heavy metals. Then the eighth category is the pressurized containers. Now there are many types of gas, as you all know, which are used in healthcare, and they are basically stored in pressurized cylinders, cartridges, and aerosol cans. Now when you talk about such products, you the commonly gases used in healthcare is your anesthetic agents, you have got nitrous oxide, you have got volatile halogenated hydrocarbons such as halothane, isoflurane, okay, or they are largely replaced by your ethers, chloroform, and basically they are being used in hospital operation theaters during childbirth, or in ambulances, or during any painful procedures in dentistry for sedation, etc. Similarly, the other categories of common gases used is ethylene oxide. They are used for the sterilization of the surgical equipment and the medical devices, or in CSSD department in operating rooms. Then oxygen is also stored in bulk tanks or cylinders, as they are used for inhalation supply for the patient. And similarly, there are other applications such as the compressed air applications, which is being used in lab work or in inhalation therapy. So these are the various categories under the pressurized containers. Now the ninth category is the radioactive waste. The radioactive waste is basically those waste which might be used in again in which are basically used in ionizing radiations, because these are of a very important category, and it might comprise of two categories. One categories are those like which is being generated when the generating or the equipment when which is on, for example x-rays, okay. Now the second category of the radioactive waste could be basically your radionuclides. What are radionuclides? They, because they continuously undergo spontaneous disintegration, and that means they have a radioactive decay phenomenon. What are those categories? They are basically your alpha, beta, and gamma rays. Now alpha, beta, and gamma rays, as you all know, like alpha, as you know, that they are heavily positively charged particles, and they include protons and neutrons. And similarly, like beta has basically negatively or positively charged electrons, and they can penetrate the human skin, okay. So all these things has basically a property to cause ionization of the intracellular material, and henceforth are highly genotoxic, okay. So these are the categories, as you can see over here in this slide. So important thing to note over here is, see, all these waste has to be color coded. See, they have to be put in variously color coded waste bins. So there are 5 categories of color coding of the bins, like yellow, red, white, blue, and black. So you can also see from here yellow, red, blue, black, or white. Now as far as the yellow bin is concerned, it basically is being used for the human waste, the tissues, organs, or the bodily fluids. That means all the chemicals or the soiled bedsheet or the animal carcasses or the laboratory waste can be put it this, and they are basically used for most general practitioners. Second category is the red, which is basically used for all the contaminated waste materials. Red means a dangerous sign. So it is basically used for all sort of a hazardous substances. For example, the IV tubes, the catheters, the tubing, or the syringes. Okay. And most of these material are also recyclable because used, they are the plastic material. Okay, the third category is the white. The white basically containers are used for sharps. Okay, and they are basically lined with puncture proof bags. So it's very important because sharps, like I told you earlier, they are the needles, scalpels, or the blades, and it must be sent to the sanitary landfill. As you can see, the disposable method. The disposable method we will be also dealing in more details in our future lectures. Then there's a blue cardboard which is basically used to discard the various glass material, and black is basically like we use the black waste bins in our kitchen, and basically it is used for non-infected. So these are the various categories of your bin bags which is being used to dispose the various waste or the biomedical waste. So you can see over here. So these are the all the 9-10 categories that we have just discussed. Then we will come to the what are the hazardous effects of this biomedical waste. So basically the hazardous effects which is associated with the biomedical waste can be categorized into 6 major categories. The first is one is infection, like we have already discussed, like it has a very strong potential to cause infection. Then it can cause like the drugs which are cytotoxic, it can cause genotoxicity or cytotoxicity. It can also cause chemical toxicity. Radioactivity hazards are there. It can cause physical injuries, as we have seen in cases of sharps, and it has also have an environmental effect. So like I said, the first one is the infectious agents, like all these biomedical waste can cause infection. So like I said, if there is a puncture or an abrasion or a cut in the skin, so through the mucous membranes or through inhalation or ingestion, these chemicals can basically enter into the body. And the common types you can see in the slide, like the gastroenteric infection through feces or vomit. Okay, so the major microorganism is salmonella or vibrio cholerae or helminthes or hepatitis A. Now similarly, the respiratory through inhaled secretions might comprise of your Mycobacterium tuberculosis, okay, or the measles virus or the streptococcus pneumonia. Similarly, ocular infections can be there, okay, from the eye secretions, and the major causing organism is the herpes virus. Similarly, streptococcus infection can take place. Neisseria meningitis can infect because of the meningitis, because the cerebrospinal fluid is an infected one because of the meningitis, and it can cause infection. The other bloodborne diseases which can take place from the various biomedical waste could be your AIDS, septicemia, viral hepatitis B and C, and so on and so forth. Now as far as the other categories is concerned, you can see over here we have all discussed, like for example, when you talk about viruses, so all the infected needles or the body fluids or the human excreta can infest the person or the healthy person with viruses. And the disease like AIDS or hepatitis infection or dengue can happen, okay. And then similarly, your as far as the human excreta is concerned, or from sharps, the bacterial infection can and take place, such as salmonella typhi or your pseudomonas, okay. And similarly, the parasites can also take place. The parasite can enter into the human body and can cause kala azar or malaria. Similarly, the second category, like I said, is your genotoxicity and cytotoxicity. Now I told you, like all the alkaline agent or the drugs or the cytotoxic or the carcinogenic drugs we were just discussing, which is being used in cancer, or likewise they have a huge potential to cause genotoxicity and cytotoxicity. Similarly, the biomedical waste which are chemical in nature can cause chemical toxicity, as we have discussed earlier. Likewise, you have the right, I told you, the radionuclides, okay, or the radioactive waste has a potential to cause various genotoxicity, and it cause cause exposure to it can cause headache, dizziness, vomiting, and tissue damage. Similarly, I told you like there could be physical injuries that may take place because of the sharps, chemicals, explosive agents. Okay, so which is being used in gases. So all these have a potential to cause physical injuries. Now last but not the least, all these biomedical waste has a huge potential to cause, or it can destroy an environment. So the contamination of the environment can be categorized into air pollution, water pollution, or land pollution. And as you know, like for example, when the indoor air pollution takes place, so it might be in form of nosocomial infection, and it can be also because of the poor ventilation, the paint, the carpets. So there are the other things which is being apart from the biomedical waste which is there in the hospital, and they can cause the pollution. Similarly, the use of chemicals or disinfection or fumigants can basically contaminate the environment. Similarly, when you untreat the biomedical waste properly, then it has a huge potential to cause your water pollution, as they can be directly dumped into low lying areas and during rainy season, or they can be directly go into the lakes or water bodies and can basically cause severe water pollution. So, and similarly, the land pollution, as you have seen in Delhi or in any of the big metros, there is a huge hill of waste, and some of them, if it is not treated properly, then all the soil pollution can be because of the biomedical waste, which might be due to the infectious waste or the discarded medicines or the chemicals. Similarly, heavy metals such as cadmium, lead, mercury, etc. can be absorbed by the plants, and they can enter the food chain system and can cause severe damage. So with this, we have finished with the sources as well as the categories of the biomedical waste. I hope you have been able to understand it fully. And if there are any questions, please write to us on the email below, and do visit our website to any other queries. Okay, thank you so much. We will meet you soon with the next chapter.